I'm with Richard Palazzo, the Director of Alternate Education at Tulsa Tech, where he works with a wide range of students and adults to help them get a high school degree. Prior to starting his program at Tulsa Tech, Dr. Palazzo was the Director of Alternate Education and Counseling Services at Tulsa Public Schools for 12 years and served for 10 years as the Executive Director of Tulsa Street School. That's Oklahoma's largest and most successful alternate education program, and a nonprofit funded by private donations. Let's start out by talking a little bit about the kinds of students that you bring into the program.
These kids are at risk of not finishing their high school program, not receiving a diploma. They're at risk of either continuing to live in poverty or be sentenced to poverty, and not having any hope for the future. Getting if they're not already discouraged, they're on the path of being very discouraged about how things are going to pan out for them, and they just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Excuse me. And so what we try to do, first of all, is to identify why they were not engaged at their home high school. And then the plan, when it works, is that they find that they have a keen interest in a career tech field, whether it be culinary, cosmetology, welding, film production, masonry, apparel design. Tulsa Tech offers over 65 different career tech education programs for high school youth. And the hope is that they're going to pick a career tech class that they find engaging, interesting, they're motivated to be there, and they do that for a half a day, and then the other half a day they're getting their basic high school coursework done. So you've got the motivation and the engagement working for you as far as the career tech instruction, hopefully. Not always, but hopefully. And then on the other side of the coin, for the other half of the day, whether it be in the morning or afternoon, they have an individualized, self-paced high school curriculum that they do for the most part online. But the gem of this whole thing is they have 3 excellent instructors and an on-site counselor who are working one-on-one with them when they need it. But for the most part, it's self-paced, and you're not in the same course as the person next to you, and you certainly may not be at the same point of the course.
Now, when you say they're computer-based, it's computer-based learning, is that through computer labs that you have here at Tulsa Tech?
Yes.
It's not their own computers, or
it's their own computer station.
Okay.
Each classroom has an individualized computer station for each student.
Okay.
They only take 2 courses at a time. That's another gem for them, because they don't have to divide their attention across 5 or 6 courses through the day. They only concentrate on 2 at a time. They do 1 course for the first half of the morning, and they take a break, and then they do a second course. And we tell kids that they should be finishing 2 courses every 9 weeks. And for the most part, 70% of the kids do that. Some kids don't work as quickly as others, but they're still working at their own pace. And we tell them there's only 2 ways to stay on track or even stay ahead. You either have to work on your courses more often and that means outside of class, or you've got to learn how to work faster. So we spend a lot of time prodding them to come to one of our success centers in the afternoon, early evening, or to work at home on their computer and contact us when we need them to proceed to the next point. Or we teach them how to work faster. We try to find out what the barriers are that are slowing them down. So you either work faster at a faster rate, or you work more often. That's the only way you're going to stay ahead, or at least stay on track.
One of the things that I think that's remarkable that you do is, I mean, these kids really come from backgrounds where they're at risk and they're thinking about dropping out of school, and by the time you've got them in your programs, they're engaged and they have something really interesting and they're motivated. I mean, what is the problem that those kids are facing, that they just don't feel they can succeed? Is that why they're not succeeding in a traditional high school environment, or is it the environment and the teaching methods that you use that make them successful?
In the 6th and 7th grade, when they make that transition from elementary to the secondary area, and we know that our highest level of dropouts occurs between the 8th and 9th grade. It's that leap into high school that just scares the beans out of these kids. It's larger. It's a larger volume of work. It's more classes. It's a faster pace, and they don't see it, but they live in a classroom where there's 3 groups of kids. There's kids that are exceeding the standard and the mark and already know most of the material, and then there's kids at the very other end of the spectrum that are failing miserably. They're not getting anything. They can't even follow the routine of the class hour. And then there's the group in the middle, which is the largest group. And unfortunately, that's where the teacher tries to teach to that group there. And if you fall on either end of the spectrum, then you either did it on your own, which is fine because you're mastered it, or you're just struggling and you're drowning. And at a certain point, the kids get tired of drowning in the classroom. And they throw up their hands and they quit. Tulsa is fortunate to have a significant number of alternative education programs. They need more, but we're in a lot better shape than smaller communities. But in saying that, I'm sure that by this time of year, every one of the alternative programs in the city is full and has a waiting list. So these kids, they need an alternative where they can re-engage. It's got to be different. It's got to look different. It's got to feel different. It's got to sound different. And that's why their career tech class is so engaging. It's because, for the most part, it's hands-on work. And that in itself is more engaging. And that seems to be the carrot for them. So they want to have that experience, and to be in our program, you've got to do both. You've got to spend a half a day doing career tech classroom time, and the other half of the day you're studying your basic high school curriculum.
Yeah, I talked to some kids that had gone through a program that they'd actually gotten out of high school and started college, but they said that they were in danger of dropping out at about the same period you were talking about. Between 7th and 8th grade, they were real discouraged. And what they didn't see was how the academic classes really related to something that they would do when they graduated from high school. So they said that in their own mind they couldn't see where high school classes themselves would get them a better job, or how it would really affect their lives. And they were, the thing that turned them around was the ability to work with some teachers and counselors that showed them how high school was a way to train themselves for some kind of post-high school education. And especially, they said, the kids that were going on to college, they learned that their grades and their academic success was really almost like a ticket, a financial bonus to them, because it allowed them to get scholarships and things that led them to do other things post-high school. But until they learned that and had somebody point that out to them, they never got that far. It sounds like that's the kind of motivation you're trying to give these kids. Is that correct, or something?
Yes. They don't see the relevancy.
Okay, well, I thank you for your time, and we're going to move ahead and do some interviews with some of your kids so that the students can have some examples of some people that were successful, and we'll publish those.